unclothed pictures of my sister to guys at my school. And when I say unclothed, you get the gist. They are explicit photos of his sister, and he's selling them to guys at his school. That is as depraved as it gets, but let's get into the post. I did not find him by snooping, exactly. My sister and I share the same car, and she left her flash drive in the cup holder. I thought it was mine since ours looked the same. When I put it in my computer, I found that it was full of pictures mostly, but none of them were mine. I realized it was hers, but kept looking at the pictures anyway. Mostly of my older sister partying with friends. Then I came across all of the explicit photos and I didn't stop looking. I felt like a huge perv, but I kept looking. There are dozens of them and all were dated within about 3 months of each other. About 16 of them are of her with her friends who I've always thought was hot, but none of them were explicit. Just them two making out in their underwear. The other R-rated ones were just her and are very, very revealing. And then there are some super explicit ones. Even though I felt dirty and pervy, I copied the pictures to my computer and rushed to put the drive back in the car before she realized it was missing. Sure enough, the next day after her return with the car, the drive was gone. The fact I kept looking at the pictures is confession enough, but worse than that, I told a few of my friends at my high school about them. I refused to show anyone at first, but then one of my friends offered me $20 to see them. Just see them. So I loaded them up on my iPad and the next day showed him. Word spread, and at the end of the day, I'd shown them to 5 different guys. Made $90. One guy ripped me off, paid only $10 up front and wouldn't pay the rest after. It gets worse. One guy I knew whose older brother used to date my sister, she went to the same high school as me, offered me $100 to buy all of the photos. I told him sure, but only if he promised to never tell anyone. But guess what? A couple other people came to me and offered the same thing. In the end, I made about $500 in total. Now the pictures have gone viral at my school. Even if I wanted to sell them anymore, I wouldn't be able to because everyone seems to have them. So far, I don't think my sister knows yet, since she doesn't really know anyone in high school anymore. She graduated last year, but I know she'll find out. How am I ever supposed to live this down? This is genuinely one of the most just messed up and depraved confessions I have ever read, because it's not only what the OP did, which is obviously horrific, but it's the fact that he's so casual about it, you know? Like, he's like, how am I supposed to live this down? Like, he's not even mentioning how horrible and horrific it is that he was so casually viewing his sister's explicit photos, let alone selling them to people in his school, and now everyone in his school has them. He's more worried about getting in trouble with his sister. Wow. This is genuinely crazy, but let's get into some of the top comments. Someone said, wow, you are screwed. There's no chance she's not going to find out at some point, and since everyone in your school knows that you were spreading them around, she's going to find that out too. The only thing you can hope is that she doesn't completely sever any relationship with you. Not that your relationship can really be that good anyways, since you had no problem sharing her explicit photos with your entire school. And the OP actually replies saying, I didn't have no problem. It snowballed from secret to showing to selling. All along, I felt guilty. I don't know what's wrong with me. Someone else says, better hope she's of age too. That's distribution of illegal content involving minors if she's not. Edit. After thinking about how screwed this guy is all night, I want to add all of the other potential effed up parties. Number 1, OP, if your sister was underage, when those pictures were taken, you're going to jail and will be an RSO for life. Number 2, OP's sister, if she took the pictures, she could also be charged with illegal content involving minors. Number 3, anyone in possession of the pictures through purchase of sharing can go to jail and get registered too. Number 4, if she is not underage, well, I would say your family Christmas is screwed and she has grounds to sue you, even though you only got like $500. You're supposed to love and look out for your sister, not pimp her out to your entire school. Your parents need to know now, and you need to tell them everything and everyone who has them. And man, wow, I didn't even realize that. That is a 100% possible that she was underage, because he said she just graduated high school, so definitely possible she was underage. Which is, I mean, if the first 3 things this commenter said are true, this situation gets infinitely more screwed. I mean, like, already this scenario is horrific. But if she is in fact underage in those photos and the OP becomes a registered SO and also goes to jail, and everyone he shared the photos with goes to jail, I mean, this situation gets even worse, more worse than I could have even imagined. I mean, I don't know how possible all of those things are, but who knows? I mean, it's definitely possible. But damn, that is truly just mind-blowingly disturbing and horrific, and also how casual the OP is through all of this. This is just so messed up. And then someone else says, you'll be turned into the police by the end of the week. Count on it. Kids can't keep their mouths shut. You effed up. Big time. Tell your sister and parents now before the police do. At least they can help you come up with a plan when the police come knocking. And also someone else says, you not only put her at risk for blackmail, but very well have ruined her future probably. You think that shit isn't going to end up on the internet with her name attached? What happens when future employers Google her? And man, that is another factor. People could easily blackmail her and say, hey, I have these photos of you, do XYZ, which is horrible as well. And like this person said, end up on the internet with her name attached. I mean, this situation can't get any worse. Any worse. And then someone else says, you might have ruined her life. Congratulations. Also, you need some help for that total lack of boundaries thing you have going on. And the OP has never posted another post or comment since this original post. And so we have no clue what ended up happening. The OP could have gone to jail, or the OP, most likely ruined his relationship with his sister, let alone family. And who knows what happened to all of the other people he shared the images with, or God knows what happened. I mean, there's like so many things that got introduced when he sold them, because now they're just out in the world. And then those kids could have shared them to more people, and then those people spread it to more people. And that's just how it goes. And then, like people said, her life is possibly ruined, which is just so horrible. And it's all from the OP just being a perv, being a complete, utter perv and creep and just disgusting weirdo. I mean, how insane. But yeah, this was just genuinely one of the most depraved confession threads and just insane confession threads I have ever read before. And comment down below your guys' thoughts on this. I'm really curious as to what you guys have to say. My boyfriend confessed something horrible. I really don't know how to start this. I, 26 female, have known my boyfriend Nate, 26 male, for 7 years. We met and dated from ages 19 to 22. Right when the pandemic hit, we had been together 3 years. It had been hard. Someone extremely close to us committed S-word, and we both just lost ourselves in grief. We eventually agreed we were not in the place to continue our relationship and went our separate ways. I was heartbroken in more ways than one. He was the love of my life, my best friend, my rock, and I was his gem, something you would call me. Losing our friend was hard as well. I ended up isolating myself from everyone. I cut off all of my old friends, got a new job, tried my best to move forward with my life. I dated around. No one really gave me that spark. I ended up dating someone who abused me emotionally, mentally, physically. Tried to leave several times. He knew where my parents lived and continued to show up and win me back. I finally decided I had enough. My parents' house wasn't a safe option to flee, so I left to my brother's 40 minutes away instead. Wouldn't you know it? Nate lived right down the street from my brother. We bumped into each other and instantly connected like we had never been apart. I told him about my situation, and he offered to have me stay at his place while I get back on my feet. Nate traveled often, and since he and his ex split, he didn't have a steady person to watch his cats, so I agreed. It took almost a year, but Nate and I decided to start dating again. Nate and I have been through a lot of the same trauma throughout our lives. That's how we connected originally. We just understood each other like no one else did. We were both abused by one of our parents growing up, both homeschooled. Both of us had trauma from being violated as young people by people we trusted. The similarities we share are eerie. Dating Nate again has been the safest I've felt in my life. I just feel at home. He really has been my rock. My father got diagnosed with terminal cancer a few years ago, and Nate has held my hand through it all. Nate's mom died from cancer when he was a kid. He has been such a big support, holding me as I cry, giving me reassurance as I deal with losing the only good parent I have. I've been a mess. My siblings have been there for me as well. But due to how our mother abused us, there has been a rift as our father is still together with her. I am the only child that will spend a significant amount of time with him. Nate has supported me every step of the way, staying with me at my parents', helping them around the house, making time to be there for them, often spending most of our weekends with my parents. This weekend wasn't any different. We spent the day with my parents. My father wasn't feeling well, so him and my mother went to bed early, as did Nate and I. As we were settling into bed, we ended up having intimacy. No big deal. After the deed was done, we were cuddling. I was stroking his skin with my fingertips, as I often do, and out of nowhere, he grabs my hand and puts it into his no-no square. Again, not a big deal. Just figure he wants a round two, so I play along. I'm not trying to get graphic, so apologies with wording. Sometime into playing with him, he whispers something to me. I position my head a little closer and say, With hitched breath, he says, Did you know that when you're married, you can't testify against your husband in a court of law? I was confused as fuck, but I just said, Like, seriously, what am I supposed to say or think with that when I am in the middle of doing something? He continued and said, when we are married, I want you to do blank and blank to girls. I was like, okay, girls, like how old? 18? Seems a little effed up. We aren't even that old, and he wants a younger woman brought into the relationship. Ouch. Then it hits me. What if he means younger girls? So I asked him how young, and he said, I can't say the ages here on video, but it's just after single digits. It's that young. It's horrible. He then continues saying, I stopped right there. What the actual fuck, Nate? I got quiet and he tried to tell me not to stop, and I just didn't know what to do. I froze in that moment. He knows I was abused as a minor. He was abused as a minor. I told him to go to sleep and I rolled over. I felt him try to reach for me, but he didn't and dropped his hand on the bed and rolled over himself. He left super early in the morning to pick up his nephew from out of state. We are supposed to spend 4th of July camping. I've just been thinking about it, if there were any signs. He always said he loved my womanly curves and even encouraged me to gain weight. He said he wanted kids with me. I said I wanted a boy. He said he thinks he'd rather be a girl dad. It's all confusing. I remember we went to the beach a few months back and had a conversation on the car ride there. It was along the lines of, do you think people attracted to minors can be rehabilitated? Or is it hardwired in them forever? We had been listening to a podcast that mentioned MAPS, minor attracted person. So this wasn't an out of the blue question, but the tone of it was. I remember telling him that I thought if you were a minor violating someone, there is hope for rehabilitation, as typically minors will act out on other people what has been happening to themselves. So as long as they know it is wrong and stop, there is hope. But past a certain age, I don't think so. I think once you reach a certain age, it gets hardwired, whether you want it or not. He didn't say much after that, and I noted that it was an odd thing for him to ask, as he is really a quiet guy and doesn't ask questions without some sort of intention. I guess now I know. I don't know what to do. I've been in our apartment stress cleaning for most of the day, and now I'm writing this. I love this man, or loved him. I don't know at this moment in time. Is there something I can do? Should I talk with him about this? Ask him to go to therapy? Ask him if he was joking? Part of me is hoping it's just some sort of weird talk. I think I'm in shock over this. Am I stupid for wanting to get him help and not leaving right away? I just needed to get this off my chest. I felt disgusting since I woke up. Just hoping it was a bad dream, but I know it wasn't. He really said those things. Any and all advice is appreciated. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, there are no mitigating circumstances where what he said would ever be okay. And someone responds saying, I'd honestly worry about having children with somebody like that. He doesn't just want to abuse minors. He wants her to abuse minors for him. That is insanely messed up. And someone replies underneath that saying, shit, I'm worried for the nephew he's taking camping for the 4th of July. That minor is in danger and someone needs to warn his family. Someone else says, he said all of that and wants to have daughters. I know you're in shock, but this is a tell everyone you know kind of situation where people need to know what a bad guy this is. Do not pass go. Do not collect 200. Get out. Someone else says, run far and fast. No one confesses something like that right after intimacy and isn't serious. And someone replies underneath that and says, also, no normal human would use the predator-friendly MAPS, minor attracted person. That's jargon predators use to try to normalize themselves. They've been trying to align themselves with LGBTQ+ through the use of these terms. Garbage. The whole lot of them. Run far and fast is really the best advice. And someone else says, get the F out of there. And someone replies underneath that saying, Jesus, this is actually horrifying. And unfortunately, the OP's account has since been banned, so we have no idea what happened afterwards. Whether she left him, whether she reported him to the police, reported him to her family or his family, or what happened, but truly, that is so just horrifying and chilling. I mean, imagine laying in bed with your significant other and they say something that disgusting, that horrible, that vile. I mean, truly horrifying. And I hope the OP was able to get out of there safely and tell everyone who needed to know. But man, that is truly, truly horrifying. I am a monster and nobody knows. I'm going to commit S-word soon. I did something bad and am probably going to commit S-word soon. When I was around 17, I violated a minor at the daycare I was working at. The minor was of single digits, middle single digits. I was only working there for a few weeks, but I think about this every day. I'm 25 now and live a pretty good life. I know I was a kid then, but I'm sure I traumatized the kid, and the regret hits harder every day. I feel like I have to tell my partner, as he doesn't know what I did. I'm sure he wouldn't want to be with me anymore. And when I say violated, I mean touched the person, or the minor in this case, in a obviously horrible area and did obscene things. I violated and touched that poor minor on her privates for like 10 minutes, and I can't make excuses for my actions anymore. I don't know what to do. I was thinking of just committing S-word, but I have a son I have to look after. Someone please help. I don't think I'll turn myself in, as I was a teenager at the time. I know my everyday people I talked to would have never guessed the disgusting thing I did to a minor. I was violated as a minor as well, so maybe that's why I thought it was okay. But I know this might sound selfish, but I wouldn't want this to come out about me one day, and then my life will be ruined. But I want to apologize to the minor I did it to. I'm sure she still remembers. Wow. What a monster this guy is. And let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, man, Reddit gets dark. This is one of the sketchiest posts I've ever read. Another user says, you need to see a therapist or turn yourself in to a mental hospital for a short period to figure out a way to live with this and accept, and most importantly, figure out a path forward to accountability and atonement. That is the only way you will be able to live with this. And another user says, turn yourself in. You need dates, company name, and just be honest. Don't do anything to yourself, but protect your son and other minors around you by turning yourself in. Committing S-word just causes another injustice, and that girl won't get the proper help she needs. If you turn yourself in, they will find the girl and help her so she doesn't repeat the cycle. Another user says, turn yourself in. You were old enough to know better. Don't paint yourself as a victim. Truly sickening. And I agree. I mean, obviously what the OP did is beyond horrific, but what's also so disturbing about this is the OP is almost acting like he's the victim here. I mean, like, doesn't it read like that? The OP is like, oh, I did this, and now, like, I'm worried about what I'm going to get in trouble. Oh, no. Yeah, you deserve to get in trouble. You're a predator. You're a monster. And in this post, he's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And he's like, it might sound selfish, but I wouldn't want this to come out about me one day, and then my life would be ruined. Well, hopefully it's ruined. He's a monster, and he deserves to be outed, and this poor girl has her life ruined. I mean, he says, and then my life will be ruined if this gets outed. And he didn't even consider for a second that he ruined that poor little girl's life. He ruined her life. He ruined it. He violated her in a place where she was supposed to feel safe, in a daycare. How sick is that? In the user, the OP, is saying, oh, well, my life would be ruined. I hope it does. I mean, that truly does make me so sick. How not even for a second during this post, he considers how he ruined her life. Ruined it. And it just, man, this is, truly one of the most disturbing posts I have ever read. Another user says, unlike you, the minor you R-worded doesn't have the luxury of choosing whether or not to suffer the consequences of your actions. Their life is ruined already. I am also a victim of being violated, and it's never crossed my mind to do that to anyone else. That's all on you, champ. Do not try to talk to your victim to make yourself feel better. Make a decision before you hurt anyone else. And man, that just truly, this was one of the worst posts I have ever read. And I really, really hope that the victim of this disgusting person gets the help she needs. I mean, she's going to have a rough road ahead of her recovering from this, but I hope she's able to recover from it and get the help she needs. And man, it's just heartbreaking, really. It's heartbreaking to know that this user violated someone, and we don't know if he did it to anyone else. This is just the one he confessed to. And the OP's account has since been banned, so we have no clue whether he was reported to anybody or whether he did end up getting arrested, but I hope he did. I hope he got arrested and charged for what he did. And the poor girl got the help she so desperately deserves. And before we get into this next one, remember in the intro when I told you guys that these were nothing but depraved and disgusting confessions? Well, this one is truly just depraved and horrible and disgusting. And I feel gross even reading it, but that's also just kind of like the vibe of this video, if you know. And also, it's just shocking to me how there's people out in the world that are like this, but let's get into it. I want to see my teenage daughter unclothed. I'm using a throwaway name for this post for what I hope are obvious reasons. I have a 19-year-old daughter still living at home, and I want to see her unclothed. When she was younger and ran around unclothed, it was cute, but I didn't feel any different when I saw one of my sons doing the same thing. Now my daughter is a grown, at least physically, woman, and I want to see what she looks like unclothed. I don't want to make her feel bad or come across as a creep, and I don't want any trouble with my wonderful wife, but I'm very curious about what she looks like. I should also add that I don't want to have any intimate contact with my daughter. I had thoughts about putting a hidden camera in her bedroom, but decided that was a stupid idea. So here I am, conflicted with what I know is a bad but real desire, and I do not know how to proceed. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One user says, "You don't proceed with anything. Your daughter is a human being who loves you and needs to have you in her life as someone she can trust. By wanting to see her unclothed, you are objectifying her. You are not thinking of her as a human being that you have nurtured and cared for, but as a body that you can lust after. Yes, lust. Because I don't believe it's just out of curiosity. That is the excuse you tell yourself. You need to stop, and anytime you think this way, you need to mentally slap yourself. She is a person. Your daughter at that. No matter how developed she is, remember that. Maybe even try imagining how different your relationship would be if she knew that you would even considered putting a fucking hidden camera in her goddamn room. You don't want to be a creep, but you're already leaning heavily on being exactly that. Get professional help. Get a time-consuming hobby. Do not indulge yourself in this anymore." Another user says, "Sorry, dude. There is no possible way that any father can say that they want to see their grown daughter unclothed and not sound like a creep. I'm having an affair with my wife's mother. I know that what I'm doing is terrible. I swear I'm not typing this to get any sort of approval. I'm doing it to get it off my chest. My wife and I are 19. We've been together for 3 years and got married 5 months ago. The relationship was genuine even though we were young. We dealt with a lot of adversities, mainly being her abusive father disliking me, and pushed through each one. Even though it won't seem like it, I really do love her. Her mother, who's in her 40s, and I have always had a great relationship. I admired her deeply because she went through a lot of painful, horrifying, disgusting things in her life, yet was still the sweetest, most optimistic individual I've ever met. A literal angel. Even though she was the mother, My wife was extremely protective of her because she had such an innocence. She moved in with my wife and I about 3 months ago. We have a tiny one-bedroom apartment, so she's had to sleep on one super uncomfortable couch, which she does happily. After she moved in, our relationship started slowly changing. We would have to keep each other company because my wife works long hours. It turned out that we were into a lot of the same things like anime, certain books, and certain series. Things my wife doesn't care for. So we bonded over those things at first. Then she started opening up more about her life, and I became even more admired and protective over her. I just wanted her to be happy and loved for. Soon, I started noticing her physically. She's a thicker woman, which I always secretly had a thing for, even though my wife is very petite and thin. It seemed like she would start wearing a little less. Pajama shorts instead of pajama pants, for example. And her legs always looked extremely soft and smooth. She used to always wear socks, but then she started going barefoot, and I found her feet, kind of chubby, really cute. Little things would turn me on to the point where I would then jerk it to her. Man, this is really uncomfortable to read. A week ago, she came back to her place crying. I immediately went to comfort her and I held her on the couch. I kept asking her what was wrong, and she refused to tell me out of embarrassment. I kept telling her that it was okay to tell me, and she broke down and admitted that she feels extremely fat, old, and undesirable. Said that she saw a group of guys laughing at her. I honestly started crying too and tried my best to convince her that she was not at all any of those things, and then something just came over me. I started kissing her. I thought she would push me away and slap me, but instead she started kissing back. It got extremely heated, and long story short, we had intimacy. Well, made love would be more fitting. Afterwards, she broke down and decided to get a hotel to stay in instead of with us. I understood. But ever since, when my wife goes to work, I drive to her room and we have intimacy. I've begun craving her to an uncomfortable level. Every tiny thing about her, even her flaws, are, quote, delicious to me. That's what he said. Man, this is really uncomfortable. She seems to really want me too, and is honestly way more passionate than my wife has ever been. I know that this has to end, and very, very soon. I fell down a terrible black hole, and it's all my fault. Now that I'm stuck in it, I don't even know how to begin to stop. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, "You already know this won't end well. Your wife's mother was obviously very low and vulnerable and craving attention. The fact that she's willing to betray her own daughter in the worst way just for a brief moment where she can feel desired is really sad and speaks volumes." Another user says, "Wow, you're in deep. Despite this being wrong on a lot of levels, it seems like you're emotionally attached/attracted to her, and this is far more than purely physical. It sounds more like your marriage should end. Not just the affair, this is too big. When your wife finds out, she will be gutted. You could be honest, end it, and spare the waiting game and constant agony over wondering when will be the day she finds out. Who knows? What if you decide you want to pursue a relationship with her mother? She may be more understanding if you're honest." Hold up. I mean, this guy said she would be more understanding if you're honest. I don't think so. I mean, imagine telling your wife saying, "Hey, we're going to divorce and I'm going to start dating your mom." That would, regardless, this would gut anybody. I mean, like, she may be more understanding. I don't think so. Like, I don't think I'm the crazy one here. I think this entire family would be forever ruined if he did that. I mean, what the OP is doing is wrong on every single level, but being honest or not won't make it better. This is just a bad situation all around. I do think that the OP should be honest and just say, "Hey, I fucked up," and possibly divorce. But man, I don't think this is going to get better at any sort of level because this is so messed up. But let's continue on with this comment. The commenter says, this is all hypothetical, of course, and I have my feelings about what you did, but you already know it's bad. You don't need to hear that. But I think you should make a better plan than to just cut it off with her mom. That won't hold up for long, and the pain caused will be worse than the more lies you add. And then another user says, wow, bro, you are a scumbag. Good job ruining a family. You can leave your wife and get a new life. However, the mother will be dealing with this for the rest of her life. Not to say that she isn't at fault, but you initiated it. And yeah, this is just a horrible and disgusting and just gross and sad scenario all around. And unfortunately, we have no update on what ended up happening because the OP's account has since been banned. So I really wonder what ended up happening. I mean, did the OP come clean to his wife and say, hey, I did this, and then she reacted however she reacted? Or did he continue to try to cover it up and lie, which I think is the most likely, because even the OP said, I don't think I'll be able to like resist her or something along those lines. And or he did something else. I don't know. But what do you guys think? I mean, this is just a gross and horrific scenario. I feel so bad for the OP's wife because not only is her marriage going to be ruined, but her relationship with her mother is also going to be ruined or just completely disintegrate. I mean, like they're not going to talk again ever. I mean, like that just, yeah, I'm just don't have any words for this because it's just such a wild scenario. But yeah, leave your thoughts down below. I'm a drunk cheater and have ruined my life. I'm changing details here because even though I don't think anyone who knows me visits here, I don't want to be called out in real life. That said, it doesn't really matter. No one really talks to me anymore. This is a confession. It's also a cry for help. You are not going to like me when you read this. The reason is that I'm not a good person. Karma is real. This is what you got. I am an alcoholic. I've been charged with a DUI, not guilty though, and struggle with not drinking. It is very hard, as it is everywhere. Despite my DUI, I had a wonderful girlfriend, high-paying job, loved me more than life, stood by me through everything, wanted to marry me and have children. I, however, was selfish and awful. I used to be a high school English teacher. I loved my job, even though it was at a Christian school, which I am not. However, I was good at it and got along great with faculty and the kids. Mine was the class everyone wanted to take. I taught good books, fun books, hard books. We'd read Chaucer and then Silence of the Lambs, and I'd assign comparison papers to the kids. I loved reading what they wrote. I loved it all. My girlfriend and I were moving soon to a different town. It was summer. She was in and out of the city. And then my phone started buzzing. A lot. A whole lot. Multiple times a day. The texter? An ex-student, recently graduated. You already know where this is going and why I'm a piece of shit. Did I text back? Yes, because I'm a piece of shit. We met up, of course, when my girlfriend was out of town. Multiple times, after her graduation, after any problems would occur. She was, of course, 18. She remains the most beautiful girl I have ever slept with, both inside and out. We'd laugh, we'd talk for hours, we'd have great intimacy. We'd stay up and eat pizza while watching movies. I felt like a monster throughout it all, but I also enjoyed myself. So did she. We had fun. Fun like I hadn't had in the years of dating my girlfriend. At one point, She put on music, and she and I danced for a long time. Just she and I alone together. I still smile at the memory. Trust me, I know I'm a bad person. Of course, it all came crashing down. Her parents found out, notified the school, and I was done. No recommendations, no chance at teaching again. I had a long telephone conversation with her father, which was one of the most traumatic things in my life, and rightfully so. I'd breached his trust and done the one thing a teacher should never do, but as I was moving, it didn't matter. I'd find something regardless, or so I thought. I moved back in with my girlfriend in the other town. She never found out about what happened, but my guilt crushed me, and my worry. Christ, every police siren nearly gave me a heart attack, even though I'd done nothing illegal. A utility van would be outside, and I'd think I was being investigated. I couldn't have intimacy with my girlfriend. I decided this was my punishment. This went on for months. Months. And before we go into the next paragraph, I have to just pause for a moment and wonder why the OP had to specify here that he was worried about police sirens and being investigated if he didn't do anything illegal. If he was worried about his girlfriend finding out, wouldn't he be worried about her going through her phone or going through something else like that instead of the police showing up? Are we sure that the OP didn't do anything wrong? I mean, I'm completely speculating here off of nothing, but I find that pretty darn weird that the OP was worried about the police and being investigated when she was 18, apparently. But let's continue. I isolated myself. I looked for work, but found nothing. I sat every day waiting for 5 o'clock to have a drink and try to drown my sorrows and severe anxiety over being found out. She worked hard for us, and I simply fell apart. I refused to work as a teacher again, even though I could have left my old job off my resume. I'd worked at other teaching jobs at the same time. I refused to talk to friends about what happened. I lost my mind. Of course, she cheated on me and then broke up with me. Suddenly, I was homeless and broke. I sold all of my stock to have something to live on. Found a couch with a friend so I'd have somewhere to stay. I drank every day. All day. I'd start with beer and move on swiftly. In a weird twist of fate, all of our friends sided with me and refused to talk to her. This made me feel more guilty. One day I woke up to a knock on the door. My family decided to send me to a mental health clinic, which would last a month. I did it because I was desperate. I received no real help while there, had no real contact with the outside world, and generally got worse. I made some friends, however. Upon release, my family refused to talk to me. It's been months and they still haven't. Most of my friends don't either. I've been sleeping on a couch and looking for any work I can find. It's a friend's couch, one I made while I was in treatment. I applied to everything, high and low paying jobs. I was turned down by Panera Bread the other day working the register. I've been turned down from Starbucks. I have an advanced degree, and I can't get a job at a bookstore. I've been turned down from so many retail jobs it hurts, and everyone treats it like it's my fault. It may be. I want to give up. I deserve everything that's happened to me, without question. At this point in my life, there's one thing that keeps me going. Pathetic as it sounds. It's not all of the "this too shall pass" nonsense. There's one line from the show Mad Men, where Don Draper says, "It'll shock you how much this didn't happen." I hope I get there. 18 years old and no chance of a future. Police lied to me. I confessed to murder. I'm probably going to die in prison for something I didn't do. Background. My life until recently has been nothing but a string of opportunities handed to me. Opportunities for which I invariably found excuses not to take. My parents came to the United States in 1998 with nothing but the clothes they wore and 1-year-old me. They worked hard their entire life and eventually were able to secure jobs in the US and buy a house in a nice neighborhood with a very low crime rate and friendly people and good schools. They spend all of their money to make sure that my brother, sister, and I are able to go to college and get good jobs and have good futures. They have provided nothing for support and never asked for anything in return. A kid couldn't have asked for better parents, and yet I still somehow found a way to mess this all up. Not that I'm surprised at this point. I've always been a slacker, and I never gave a thought to what I'd do in the future. I could have easily passed top of my class in school with a 4.0 GPA. I know this for a fact because I aced every test I was given. I was at the top in terms of test scores, higher than even our valedictorian. And I had all the free time in the world to study and do schoolwork. But instead, of course, I spent all of it playing video games and ended up getting a 2.3 GPA, which I was able to pass off to my parents as a half-decent GPA. I was able to pull this off despite years of counseling and therapy, and you need to work harder. And I promise I will. I could have had all the friends I wanted to, but I was too lazy to go out and do things in real life. I gave up every chance they gave me. Everyone was on my side. I could have gone places. I could have done things, but I still blew it. Police rang the doorbell at our house about 3 weeks ago, asking to speak with me. I said yes, and they took me to some place. I guess it was an interrogation room. They had information that I was in the area when someone was killed. I said something like, "No, officers, I didn't do it." Then they yelled at me, cursed at me, insulted me. They called me a murderer. I said it wasn't me. And they left the room and locked me in it for an hour. When they came back, they told me that I could go home if I admitted to doing it, and the sentence will be lower. They said they knew it was me, so denying it was futile, and that they took DNA samples of everyone when they're born, and my DNA was a match for what they found on the body. Looking back, I realize this has to be a lie, because my DNA cannot have been in their system because I was born in another country, in my family's old house. Actually, I doubt they found any DNA on the body at all, because if they tested it against mine, they would have to drop the case. I was too foolish at the time to realize it though, and I thought that the police couldn't lie to you because they're supposed to be the good guys. Anyways, I was exhausted and scared of them at this point, and really wanted to go home, so I said, "Okay, I did it." And then they recorded my confession. Then they took me home to jail, where I spent about a week before my parents sold their new car and used our college funds and almost all of their savings to bail me out. I'm still not home free though, because I still have to go to court. And I can't stay with my family because I'm considered a potential threat to my siblings. I have to stay with one of my father's friends. He's a nice guy though, but he's never home. So here I am, alone in this house. I can't even go outside because everyone hates me now after watching the news when I got arrested. I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything outside of this house. It feels like I'm already back in jail. I guess it's better this way so I can prepare myself for prison. I don't want any of this. I didn't kill anybody. I don't want to go to prison. But how can I defend myself from a confession? I would take it back if I could, but that makes me a liar, and nobody will believe me then. I just want this to be over. I guess it doesn't matter. On the bright side, I never did make plans for the future, and I guess this means I don't have to. I wish they would just give me the death penalty, because I don't want to rot in prison. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, "My best advice? Delete this post ASAP and get a lawyer. Even though you're telling the truth in this post, one word being slightly off could ruin your life. They'll have a field day with this if they ever find it." And someone replies saying, "As an attorney, yes, delete this immediately." Someone else says, you have a constitutional right to an attorney. Before you say anything more, tell someone you would like to speak to one. If you can't afford one, they will appoint you one. Once you speak to an attorney, let them know about the police questioning as soon as you can, especially about the DNA part. I believe that most police questionings are recorded, be it voice or video and audio. If what you say is true, this is a big part of your case. Another commenter says, having my own run-in with the law, I have a few thoughts about what you said, assuming what you said is 100% true. Number one, you spoke with the cops, which is never a good idea. Cops are bullies whose sole job is to pin crimes on people by any means necessary. Speaking with them without a lawyer is telling cops that you are scared of them and willing to cooperate and believe any lies they tell you. Number two, you are just a pawn. Maybe bring you up on charges to make the real suspect get too comfortable. Cops do not care how much it affects your life. Number three, the bail money will be returned minus whatever percentage the bail company took out, so don't even worry about that. Number four, you need a lawyer. That is why your situation has gotten out of hand. You have no one making sure the police are not messing with you and trampling on your rights, which they all will do. It's funny how so many people support police and hate lawyers until they have a true encounter with the cops. Number five, aside from needing a lawyer, you're going to make sure that you get your criminal and arrest records erased when the charges are dropped. Whenever they do a background check for a job, arrest records pop up, even if it led to no conviction, but you will have to pay a professional to take care of that. Number six, police are nothing more than criminals with badges and guns. Yes, police lie. Police lie more than politicians. People think lawyers are liars, but at least lawyers cannot legally lie. Simply put, you need a lawyer. I know they are expensive as hell, but they are worth the investment. They also can work on lifting some of the restrictions on your release and even lowering your bail so you can resume some normalcy of your life until the case is resolved. What you are experiencing is normal for so many people. Cops just don't go after the true criminals, mentally ill, poor, etc. They're now going after middle-class people. My final thought is do not worry about what other people think. At the end of the day, they do not care. They are probably too busy with their own stuff and not keeping updated with their situation. You'd be surprised how many people are dealing with criminal situations. And this is the last post the OP has ever posted on their profile, so we don't know what ended up happening, but a lot of you guys might think that this is far-fetched. When I first read this, I'm like, this is far-fetched. This is a made-up confession. But I looked it up, and roughly 4% of people convicted for murder are innocent. Which, I mean, you're like 4%. That's not a lot, but that means that it's not negligible. Like, there is a percent of people who go to jail and are technically framed for murder when they're innocent. And they were just at the wrong place at the wrong time with not enough evidence, or they said the wrong things, like we saw here. And so it's not impossible that what the OP is saying here is not true. I mean, the OP could have literally been at the wrong place at the wrong time and then ended up saying the worst things possible, not asking for a lawyer, and digging a hole for themselves, and now they have to climb out of this hole. Hopefully the OP was able to get a lawyer and get this all resolved and not get framed for murder, but it's also very possible that this happened, which is insanely disturbing because, as we heard, the OP is innocent, didn't kill the person, is completely innocent for this crime, but the police are latched onto them and think he is the main suspect, and he got arrested for a week. And who knows what ended up happening? I mean, if this goes to trial, then the jury could possibly, convict him. But that is very, very scary. I mean, this guy is an innocent guy, and he's getting framed for murder, and the police think he did it. And so we don't know if the OP ended up going to trial or going to jail even, or if he just kind of got this all figured out. But, I mean, a nightmare situation. Wrong place at the wrong time and said the wrong things to the police. But what do you guys think? I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts, so comment down below what your thoughts are on this confession. But if this is true, that is deeply disturbing. And for this next one, I'm not going to read a story. There is a story attached to it, but I'm just not going to read it because it's so gross and disturbing. But most of the time I get these confessions from r/confessions. And I came across this one confession, which was titled, I jerked it to illegal content involving minors. Obviously, horrific. And the story itself is horrific, obviously, disgusting. And when I scroll down to the comments, because I'm like, well, what are people's reactions to this? That's why I always read the comments, because I think it's interesting to, get people's knee-jerk reaction to what they're reading, and it's usually pretty interesting. But in this post, almost all of the comments are people telling the OP to send them the video. The video the OP jerked it to, which was content that was illegal and involving minors. I'm not even joking. Hundreds and hundreds of people saying, send me the video. And the reason I'm bringing this up now is because it just goes to prove how many creeps and weirdos there are out in the world and how disgusting the internet truly is and how some corners of the internet are genuinely just disgusting. And I mean, I'm going to have it scrolling on screen here, but you can see how many people were begging for the OP to send them illegal content involving minors, which is just beyond sick. And I mean, to be honest, I'd love to make a video like kind of exposing Reddit creeps or Reddit predators, because there's a lot of them, obviously. And I just had to include this because it really made me sick, because it just goes to prove how many disgusting people surround us that we just don't know. And I'm not going to read the confession. It's just gross, disgusting. And as I just talked about, the comments are disgusting of people begging the OP to send them the video. And they say, please, please. And one person even says, be careful to not self-incriminate. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing is disgusting, illegal, wrong, and also just immoral. Truly immoral and just disgusting. And the top comment on this says, you guys in the comments are sick. And I agree. I'm sorry for kind of rambling about this, but this isn't a, conventional confession I read, but I just had to read this, and I had to include my reaction to this because I was so just surprised when I saw this. I thought everybody in the comments would be condemning this person, which it should, condemning him, because it's just truly disgusting and sick. And I mean, even another commenter says, I don't know how I ended up here, but wow, the people in the comments are actually sick in the head. And yeah, this just really had me disgusted to the nth degree. Truly horrific. There is so many predators out there. Be careful, guys. My ex-boyfriend confessed to at least 7 murders. He just randomly told me one night in bed that he had killed before. I had no idea what to believe. I figured he was lying, trying to seem cool or something. He justified them. I was young, naive, a complete idiot. He beat the living shit out of me a few months later. He went to jail. I forgot about his confessions for a long time. But eventually, I thought back to them. I have no idea if he was telling the truth or not. I'm not sure if I could live with myself if he was. He went into pretty extreme detail about these instances. I can't remember enough details at this point to even contact police over it. I remember one of the stories. I think he said it was in Alabama. He moved around a lot. He told me he went on a date with his coworker at Chili's, the restaurant. Apparently, she ended up having a boyfriend who freaked out and demanded to meet him one night. So we went into some middle of nowhere place to meet this guy. They started fighting at some point, and he grabbed a tire iron. I think that's what he called it. I have no idea what that is. and bashed this guy's head in with it, jumped into his car to get out of there, and ran over the guy on his way out. He described how it was feeling the body under the wheels of the car. He said at the time he convinced himself that he had hit him on accident, but that eventually he admitted to himself it was on purpose. He left the state after that. That's the only story I remember the details of, and even the version I wrote here is bits and pieces. I've researched like crazy for news articles, anything, but I can't find anything. After he beat me and did other unspeakable things, I'm convinced he is a complete sociopath. I would not be surprised if these stories were true. His mom even admitted a psychiatrist told him/her they had suspicions he was indeed a sociopath. He compared to himself to a movie figure. I cannot, for my life, remember the name of the movie, but it was a big one. It's one about vigilante killers, killing for justice. Brothers, I think. He said he idolized them and imagined he was the same. I said, but these people weren't evil or wrong. And he said that the way he saw it, everyone has done something wrong that they should pay for. More eloquently, though. He also told me that each time he killed someone, most were in fights, he said, "Merry Christmas," before he killed them. When he beat me, he held a knife to my throat and one to my stomach. He stared me in the eyes and said, "Merry Christmas." Someone hearing my screams called 911 and cops rushed him in time. He's not in jail anymore. He's out. I don't know if I believe him, but maybe that's just because I don't think I could live with myself if I did. He was pretty nonchalant when he told me. Almost proud. I feel sick inside. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, no matter how much you can remember, call the police. And the OP responds saying, I've considered it now, but it was 4 years ago that he told me. And for that matter, what police department? The one in the state we lived in when he told me? Where I am now? The police in Alabama? I would love nothing more than to see him locked away for life and get closure for the families of the victims, if his stories were true. But I just don't know where to start this many years later. And someone replies saying, any police department. They'll make sure the right people get the info if there's any chance it's true. I'd recommend the state police though. Someone else says, my ex was like this. A malignant narcissist who compared himself to Dexter, as if he was some smart vigilante above the law punisher. He also told me that he killed someone in his previous country. Also went on to get violent with me, be so happy it's done for, and you got out alive. Someone else says, tell your nearest police force. They all talk to each other, and they will make sure the right people are informed. It's not your job to know who to talk to. Let the police figure it out. And unfortunately, the OP has never posted on the account again, so we don't know if the OP ended up going to the police or not, but I really hope she did because that guy sounded like a complete psychopath. He held up a knife to the OP's throat and stomach. I mean, that is as psychotic as you can get. And he confessed to 7 murders in extreme detail. I mean, I hope that the OP just went to the police because, I mean, worst case, she goes to the police and the police don't believe her. Okay. But best case scenario, this psychopath gets off the streets. She has all the info for them to find him and then question him and possibly go to some other states and try to find out if there's any unsolved murders. But I really hope that the OP ended up going to the police and tried to get this figured out because that guy is out on the streets and a complete psychopath who hurt the OP, but possibly hurt and killed 7 other people. Wow, that is truly disturbing. 21-year-old drug-dealing gambling addict that lost over $100,000. Throwaway account, although I never post on my main anyways. I've been gambling ever since I can remember. It has always been around in my life because my parents gambled and older siblings too. I would bet with friends playing PS3 games, bet on sports with each other, but nothing ever serious, just like $5 to $25 bets. Once I became a sophomore in high school, I was introduced to drugs, weed, and started to sell myself since I realized how many people smoke where I'm from. Once I started making money and turned 18, I started to go to casinos and do online gambling. Some days I would win, but in the end, I would always lose. There has been plenty of days where I would deposit $2,000 into my online account and lose it the same day. This would happen every month for a year, and mind you, I went to casinos in person too. I've been hating my life recently because of how much money I've lost in my short lifetime. I always tell myself that this is drug money and it's not that serious, but it is serious. No one knows about this except some friends who think I maybe lost like $5,000 to $10,000 in my lifetime, but in reality, I lost way more than that. And in the title, the OP even said around $100,000. Everyone my age is finishing college/uni, while I stayed home and did nothing with my life the past 4 years after high school. I've contemplated about S-word many times, but I know I will never do it. I just think about how much life would be better if I just never gambled. I just lost another $3,000 this week, so I decided to confess this. I'm telling myself that today, after this post, is when I'm going to quit gambling, even though I said I was going to quit many times before. If anyone reads this, do not gamble. It will ruin your life. And that is the one and only post the OP has ever made on their profile. And I really hope that the OP got the help they needed. I ruined my girlfriend's life. Throwaway. This happened a few years ago, and the girl is now my ex. When her and I first met, it was like everything I could have ever wanted had been placed in front of me. She's a short, fit, olive-skinned brunette. She's bubbly, incredibly intelligent, a child at heart, and brought me pure joy. Literal perfection. Way out of my league, especially before I lost all my weight. Anyway, I always knew of her before because she dated an acquaintance of mine. She had broken up with my acquaintance and was now dating another guy a couple months beforehand. Her and I had officially met at a track meet, and after some conversation, exchanged numbers. We became close extremely quick. We shared things about ourselves that nobody else knew. I had fallen in love with this girl who was in a committed relationship. As fate would have it, a couple months later, her boyfriend cheated on her. I remember her breaking down while we were at a Panera. I did and said everything I could do to get her to leave him without making it obvious. I remember planning everything I'd say and do in every scenario. A week later, the New York Rangers lost the Stanley Cup final, and being in the emotional state I was in, laid everything out on the line. I told her how I felt and what I wanted so desperately. She said that everything was so fresh and that she wished things would have worked naturally. I was absolutely gutted. I turned it around on her and played the victim. I was manipulative, I said things I shouldn't have, and then I thought that was it. We didn't talk for a few days, and then out of nowhere, she texted me saying that she needed me. She'd rather have all of me than none of it. Looking back now, I feel so guilty. But when I received that text and we hung out that night, nothing else mattered. I won. I remember thinking exactly that, and it makes me shudder now. What I can't deny was the next year, though. Our beginning had faded very quickly, and we were both happy. We were both genuinely in love. A year to the day, and things slowly started to unravel. For my birthday that year, my friends and I planned a night at the local gentleman's club after I assured her I wouldn't go. Around the same time, a friend and I took some pills after I assured her I'd never do that. About 3 weeks after those separate incidents, I had gotten a text while I was napping on her couch. She woke me up and told me to get out of the house, that she couldn't even look at me. She had read text to a friend about what I'd done. The thing I remember most about that was how hot I got after she confronted me. I was terrified that I just threw away what I loved most. We stayed up talking about us night after night, and after constantly trying to assure that she could trust me, she let me back in. It was around that time I remember thinking, I can do anything and get away with it. She loves me too much. No more than a month after, in my twisted way of rationalizing, I had spent about $30 on food using her card. I played along with her confusion and worry until her father contacted the restaurant and got the transaction details from them. I remember being embarrassed to no end. Her family was now involved, and the dread of our impending doom finally started setting in. We fought every night. She couldn't trust me. I was screwed. I honestly don't know how, but she kept on loving me. We made it through all that. What had ended us, though, was the stuff that I was doing through all of this. Months before, while using her laptop, I noticed her sister's iCloud was backed up to it. Curiosity had gotten the best of me, and I opened up her sister's photos. There were dozens of her explicit photos, and in my secretive haste, I sent them to myself. Fast forward to December 28th, 2016, and I woke up to a text from her saying we needed to talk. She came to my friend's house and in her car broke up with me. I never found out how, but she found out. But seeing the person I loved the most so broken, I just couldn't keep up the facade. I broke down. We both sat in her car silently in tears for hours. I finally got out, and that was pretty much it. None of that was worth it. It's been years, and I think about how much I hate myself for putting her through that. I know that what I feel doesn't even come close to how she must have felt. I'd give anything to have the girl who'd do anything for me back. I sent her a drunk text back in October after a year and a half of apologizing. It took me that long to man the F up. I miss you. I'm sorry. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, I mean, it's cool you learned your lesson, but damn, you are a real asshole. Someone else says, LOL, you